The 176 Soweto Derby between Orlando Pirates as well as Kaizer Chiefs is in the spotlight on the football calendar today. It will be hard to put yourself in the shoes of the players who are going to play in front of a sold-out F&B stadium. Now, a former player who has experienced it from both sides of Soweto is Maponyane, who now joins us on the line to speak about the upcoming Soweto Derby this afternoon. Good morning, Max, and thank you so much for your time on the Weekend Report. I want to start by asking you, do you remember your first Soweto Derby? And I ask this because there's a couple of players today that are likely to be playing in their first Soweto Derby.
No, good morning. I don't remember my first, but I know that I started playing in 1981. But I cannot really be precise or put my finger to that day when I played my Soweto Derby.
All right, so it's a sold-out affair out at the F&B Stadium this afternoon. Do you think that's an indication that the Soweto Derby is still a main feature on the South African football calendar?
Yes, it is. It is an indication that confirms that Soweto Derby is still the big deal. And the only difference is that you have to recall that for 2 seasons, it was because of COVID that the fans did not go to the stadium. And it's been pleasing to the eye for one to be seeing the attendance that one has been seeing lately. You can recall the game between Sundowns and Pirates and then Chiefs and Pirates. There's really been a good good attendance in all these venues. So to Derby, despite all the good attendance, it's always at the time when these 2 teams are very tight. I mean, you look at the log now. Pirates 4, Chiefs 5. That's just 1 point separating the 2. So you can now see that the fans are anxious. They don't realize that they're still second round. They just, because of the reputation and the need of showing some pride and say, I've got these bragging rights. They don't care whether it's the first round or second round. They just go there. And if I were one of the fans, I would just be relaxed and say, no, they'll be playing again in February. But it shows the need and the pride at stake. That is why it's such a sold-out affair.
And speaking about the position that both teams are on the log at the moment, 4th versus 5th position for Kaizer Chiefs, what have you made of both teams' performances so far in the season?
Very average, and I'll tell you why I say average. There hasn't been really consistency, and at the time when I thought Chiefs were consistent, that's when they won 3 in a row, and their bubble was busted after all that. But that's something very scarce in this league where you see team winning 3 in a row. I mean, of all the teams, the log leader Sundowns have also been battling to win 3 in a row. So both of them, Pirates at some point, you can recall that they had about 3-4 draws in a row, and the fans were starting to complain, and then they won 2-0, then they won 3-0 against Sundowns, then the lights turned on from the fans to say, hey, I'm a Buccaneer, so it's just these recent victories, but reputation and the history of how they have been performing, it's putting them where they are. 4 and 5, but if there were 2-3 better teams on top of them, then those teams would really be consistent continuously. Because it's a matter of time before one of these 2 teams not end up at the end of the season, but very soon being number 1 or 2. So just because of the inconsistency that we have been seeing up there.
And you also look at the form of both teams coming into this encounter. Pirates at an all-time high. When you look at the MTN 8 semi-final against Mamelodi Sundowns last week, so they are brimming with confidence. And then you have a Kaizer Chiefs side that is still hurting, obviously, after that disappointing result against AmaZulu in their semi-final. Does form count for anything going into the derby?
No, not at all. I mean, over the years, we know that, and just to reconfirm or reaffirm what you say, Pirates fans are still smiling from the 3-0 victory against the local leaders, the champions, and they just feeling, oh, we beat Sundowns, who's Kaizer Chiefs? Chiefs have been struggling, and Chiefs just recently struggled against Amazulu. That goalless draw didn't have their course. So they are in the cup, but they don't realize that they're in the final. But when it comes to form, as you were saying, whether, and we know over the years, whether Chiefs or Pirates, either of the two losing midweek and coming against the other who has won midweek or weekend, it doesn't make any difference. Because you even get surprised that where is this Chiefs that lost to TS Galaxy, as an example, last week? Now they just playing out of their skins against Orlando Pirates. So now today they realize it's 90,000 people. And it's not only 90,000, because you may find that even where they were playing, there was a good crowd, but they were just sluggish. But because of the derby itself, they know what's at stake. They know that this has history on its own. And they just feel we have to play the best football. But also, something that is very key that people don't realize, it's not only what they see on the field, it's the build-up to it, the camps of both teams. I mean, over the years when I was playing there, even now, there would be so much concentration in the week where there's this focus of saying, this can't be wrong. Guys, if there are any differences, just sort out your differences. And I'm thinking, you could have long sorted out these differences. You know, it's like there shouldn't be. You should just be going on and winning consistently. But it's some of those moments where people think, or the people in charge thinks, if there's anything outstanding, it has to be just sorted now because we need to win. So the derby is really, really big. And by the way, even yesterday, talking about this, I was invited to speak to the players at Kaizer Chiefs and just to share with them how important the derby is. I mean, if you look at Kaizer Chiefs, let's also be honest. They've got about what, 16, 17 players who have never played the derby. And none of those, you still have to have your starting 11.
Yeah. So
they're coming against Pirates short in terms of derby reputation and derby appearances.
Mark,
7-10 of them will be their first derby.
All right, Mark, we are running out of time, but I want to ask you this question very quickly, one-word answer. Who's winning the derby this afternoon?
That's a curveball to me. I shouldn't say any one of them can. Let me just be precise. On paper, Pirates can. Chiefs can surprise.
All right. On paper, Pirates can. Chiefs can surprise. All right, Max Maponyane, thank you so much for your time this morning on the Weekend Report. That is Max Maponyane, football legend who played for Orlando Pirates back in the days, as well as Kaizer Chiefs, speaking to us ahead of the Soweto Derby coming up this afternoon at the FNB Stadium. That's